Hello there everybody, it's your favorite college student back at it again for another video on our series of how to go from zero to hero in Cadence development. In this video we're going to be going over how to build a Dapp from nothing on Flow. So this should be pretty fun. It is a Saturday night, I'm alone in my college apartment, I have a bucket hat on. You may be wondering, Jacob, shouldn't you be out at a party, shouldn't you be out having fun? My answer is yeah, probably, but here we are, this is the deal. This is my version of fun. Let's have a blast with it. So we're gonna go over some simple prerequisites. So what do you actually have to do in order to build a Dapp on Flow? There's two main things. One is to first install Node.js. So if you don't have Node.js, make sure that this is actually installed. And the second thing we're going to do is go to @onflow.org, and we're going to install the Flow CLI. So you're going to click on For Builders Documentation. You're going to click on Flow CLI, and you're going to click on Follow these steps to install the CLI. And so there's instructions for Mac OS, there's instructions for Linux, there's instructions for Windows. All you're going to do is open up a your terminal of choice. This is mine, and let me increase the font size so that everyone can read it. And you're just going to copy and paste this script. If you're on Windows, same thing if you're on Linux. And if you're on Mac, I would recommend going with the second option, so the pre-built binary, instead of doing it through Homebrew. I just think it's better this way. It's always worked for me this way. So that's to actually set up the CLI. And so we're going to need this to actually build our Dapp in a sec here. So we're actually going to use React to build our Dapp. So when you think of a Dapp, you can think of there's some blockchain code like Cadence, for example, and then there's a front end that can actually interact with our, allow us to interact with our blockchain. So we're going to make a React front end that has some buttons on it, that has some, the ability to display an address and stuff like that. So we can actually click some buttons and start interacting with some blockchain code. So in order to do that, we're going to just create a sample React project. And you can do that by doing npx create React app. And I'm going to call my, my React app example Dapp. So we're going to let that go for a second. And while this is going on, I'm just going to briefly explain what you can expect in this video. So let's just go over here so this isn't distracting us. But this is going to be a video on how to build a Dapp on Testnet. So some of you may be wondering, why aren't we doing this on emulator? Emulator, it might be easier, it's faster than Testnet. If you are, if you haven't heard of it before, it's sort of emulator is like the base, and Testnet is above that, and then mainnet is above that. So emulator is usually the fastest and easiest to work with, but I have personally found that on Flow, making a Dapp on Testnet is actually wildly easier than making a Dapp using the emulator for some reason. You would think it's the opposite, but it's not. So we're going to be using the Testnet, but if you would like me to make an example on how to build a Dapp on emulator, let me know in the comments, and I'll consider making another video on that. But from my personal experience, I wouldn't make Dapps using the emulator. If your goal is to test your transactions and scripts and stuff like that in your contracts, I would just use the Flow playground at play.onflow.org. Test your transactions and scripts here. It's a great way to do it, just for quick and easy tests. So that's what I would do. And then if you're actually going to make a Dapp, I would actually use Testnet. So that's sort of why we're doing this on Testnet. Okay. So it's done doing that. So we're actually going to cd into example Dapp. We're going to open this up in VS Code using code dot, and so it opened it up on my other monitor here. Let me bring it over. All right. So here is our here's our React project. I'm going to increase the font size a little bit so that you can see it. And so we're going to go into this app.js file, and we're going to just delete some of the baseline stuff here. So let me actually move this over a little bit so you can see. Okay. So we're going to get rid of some boilerplate stuff like this logo. Let's delete that. Let's delete this header here. Let's just leave this one div block here. And so just to make sure everything's working, let's just do h1 and say, hello, everybody. Let's save that. All right. And so let's actually go into our terminal and just say npm run start. And this is going to just launch our React project just to make sure that everything is working smoothly. And so this is just to make sure that we're all good. And so it's going to load up here in our terminal. It should say compiled when it's all done, so it says compiled successfully. And now boom, we see hello everybody. So we have our simple front end set up. Cool. So in this video we're going to be setting up a Dapp obviously on Testnet, and so in order to do that we actually need a contract, transactions, and scripts to interact with our Dapp, or else our Dapp would just be useless, right? There wouldn't be any blockchain code. So we're going to go to the playground here at play.onflow.org. Let me increase the font size a little bit. And we're just going to get rid of everything in this first account, and we're going to start making our own contract. So let's do that together. So let's do a public contract hello world. And if you have any questions about this Cadence code, this is going to be super simple Cadence code. If you have any questions about this, then I recommend sort of pausing this video and going back to previous videos I've done in this series about how to actually code in Cadence. Because this is going to be very, this is just going to be a simple variable here just called greeting, and we're just going to initialize this to, let's just say self.greeting equals hello world. Hello world. All right. And so just as a brief review, you know, this is, we're just doing we're making a contract here. So we do public contract, the name of the contract, which is hello world. We initialize one state here, so this is going to be a greeting, that's a string, and we're going to initialize this to hello world. So that when we deploy this contract, again, this is all just, this isn't on testnet, this is all just on the emulator on Playground. It's just deployed to account 0x01, and boom, our greeting is now hello world. So we're good to go. So we're also going to add a function, public function change greeting. And so this is going to take in a new greeting, that's a string. And this is going to set our self.greeting equal to the new greeting. So again, this is just, we have one sort of greeting string here. We have the ability to change it, and then we initialize it when the contract gets deployed. So we can clear this and redeploy the contract again, and we are good to go. Awesome. So we actually need to deploy this on testnet somehow, right? We need to be able to put this on testnet so that we can start interacting with it, so we can start reading the greeting and all that kind of stuff. So let's do that together. In order to do that, you have to go to something called the Flow view source, so flowviewsource.com. And if you go to this link directly, you'll notice it just says sadly no, so it's a little glitchy. You have to actually go to /testnet/account/an example address. So I just always put 0x01 and then click enter. And so then it'll take you to this this page here, and this is the view source. So this is where you can view all of the contracts on testnet. If you wanted to, you could replace the 0x01 in the URL with an address, and it'll show you all the contracts in that account on testnet, which is pretty cool. So in order to deploy our own contract, we're actually going to click on authenticate up here. And so when we click on authenticate, it's going to bring up this sort of a prompt here that has Blocto, Dapper, Ledger. For us, we're going to be using Blocto. So Blocto is a wallet that you can use on testnet and mainnet. It makes it so simple to deploy your contracts on testnet. On mainnet, there's a review process, etc., but that's outside the scope of this tutorial. And to also just sign in and do a bunch of stuff in our wallet. So I'm going to bring this off the screen really quick because it's going to bring up one of my emails. I don't want to put it on the video. But what you're going to see when you click on Blocto, so I'll go through that again just for anyone curious. You're going to click on Authenticate, you're going to click on Blocto, and then it's going to bring you to this page. And so if you haven't signed up with Blocto before, there's no worries. It's the same as if you already have. You're going to put in an example email here. And so I have prepared a email here that I can just show you guys because it's just a spam email. So you go ahead and spam it all you want. I promise it won't do anything. Just put in your email address and then click on register or sign in if you've already done it before. Then you're going to go to your email. You're going to get an email from Blocto service, and in my case, my code is 954395, and boom, I've done it. And then this is my address. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to take your address. So take the address, copy it, go into your application, and just save it in a comment somewhere so that we have this for later, right? So make sure you have your address. And if you forget to do this step, don't worry, you can do this at a later point too. Then click confirm. And so your address is down here in the bottom left. And so then what you want to do is you want to go down to this bottom left, click on this, and it'll bring you to your account. So it'll tell us how much flow we have, how much FUSD we have. Of course, we have none, right? But that's all right. So what we're going to want to do is in order to deploy a contract, you actually have to have some flow in your account. So let's go to the flow faucet. So look up flow faucet on Flow. Of course, it brings up a bunch of actual faucets, but you're going to want to go to this Flow testnet faucet. Now, I'm going to link this in the description so that you don't have to do this. All right, so it's going to bring you to the Flow faucet. Now, because we already have an account, we don't have to do any of this stuff here. You're going to click on Fund Account in the top right. So click on Fund Account. And then we're going to copy and paste our address. So that address that we just copy and pasted into our dApp, take this address, go back, and paste our address into here. And then click on Testnet Flow. Click, do this I am human. Let's see if I'm human. Car, let's see if I do this right. Car. I hope I'm not stupid. Car. Okay, verify. Let's go. I'm human. And then you're going to click on fund your account. And so it's going to do this sort of fun stuff. You'll notice that if we go to our account, we'll see there's 0 flow. But once this is completed and we've done everything right, and if I'm a good mentor, maybe I am lying to all of you and this is wrong, but I hope it's good. So let's wait. It says, boom, account funded. And if we go to the view source, look, now there's 1,000 flow. Boom. So to all of you that think you've just hacked the system, remember this is on testnet. This isn't actually worth anything, but we have 1,000 flow now. So what you're going to do is you're going to click on new contract. You're going to get rid of all this blank space. We're going to go to the flow playground, copy and paste our contract, go to the view source, and paste it into here. Now, of course, my webcam is blocking this, so, I'm floating. But you're going to click on this deploy contract in the bottom right here. So click on deploy contract. This is going to deploy our contract to testnet. It's going to bring up this prompt. I'm blocking everything again, so let's go back down. And we're going to click on approve. Now, if you're curious, you can actually open up this script to see what it's actually running, but we're just going to click on approve. It's going to do some processing stuff, and it's going to do this pending for a second. So we'll know it succeeded if it actually comes up on the left-hand side here and says hello world. So let's see if it does it. All right, boom. So hello world. Awesome. Now, so we actually have our contract on the blockchain now, which is awesome. So let's actually, in our dApp, have a way to read this greeting from the blockchain. And so in order to do that, we actually need to make a Cadence script to do that. So let's just test that in our playground for now. So let's click on script here. Let's make sure that we import hello world from account 1. And we're going to return hello world.greeting, which is a string. So make sure we change this to a string. So it's a function that returns a string. We're returning hello world.greeting, which is a string right here, which should be hello world. Okay, so we're going to execute this. It's going to say hello world, and if it gives you an error, just make sure that your contract is truly deployed in this account. But it gives us hello world. So we're going to copy and paste. We're going to copy this script, go back into our dApp, and let's make a folder in our source file called Cadence. I spelled that wrong. Cadence. And let's make another folder in here called scripts. So scripts just read stuff from the blockchain. And we're going to call this get greeting .js. All right. So inside here, we are going to copy. We're going to paste our stuff here. Now this is going to look weird, but what we actually have to do is we have to wrap this in an export. So export get greeting const get greeting equals. And then we're going to open up some backticks, and then we're going to wrap our code here inside backticks. Now, this might be really strange. You might be wondering, why are we doing this? And it's because that on Flow, when you're making dApps, you actually have to wrap your Cadence code in backticks here. So if we wanted to, we could have a .cdc file, and here, I'll show you that right now. We could do new file. Let's just do get greeting.cdc. We could copy and paste our code here, and you'll see it'll give us like the syntax highlighting and stuff that we would normally need. But this isn't how you actually submit the script to the blockchain. It won't work if we try and do this. So we actually have to delete this, and let's actually just go back to here. And so I'll show you why we actually have to wrap this in backticks actually in a second here. All right, so let's go to app.js, and let's actually let's actually do some other stuff. So in order to actually interact with the blockchain, right now this is just a React project. It has no idea how to interact with the blockchain. The React project is probably saying, what the heck even is the blockchain, right? And so we have to actually install some stuff to make sure that our project is set up to interact with the blockchain. So let's go ahead and kill this React project right now. That sounds mean, but let's do npm install @onflow/fcl and @onflow/types. All right, so we're going to install these two things. So for those of you that don't know, when I start installing dependencies, I actually like to boot up a Flappy Bird game because I could cut the video, of course, and just make you guys not have to suffer through the waiting. But I think that suffering through the waiting together actually makes a bonding experience, especially between YouTuber and viewer, right? So this is not only you getting how to build a dApp, but you're getting intense gameplay on Dappy Bird. Now, I just died on 5, but let's try and ignore that. And let's actually get back to our high score of 19, which I have accomplished in previous videos. And let's see if we can actually do this. And if I fail on this one, then, okay, so I failed. Are we done yet? Oh my god, we still have so long to go. Alright, I'm actually going to cut the video so that you don't have to wait through this, because this actually might take a second. And then we'll resume when we come back here. Alright, so once that has completed, we're actually going to go back into our dApp, and we're going to go back to our app.js here. And so in order to actually communicate with the blockchain now, what we're going to do is we're going to import all as FCL from @onFlow. Oh, I'm typing all over the place. @onFlow FCL, and we're also going to import all as types from @onFlow/types. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this FCL, which is sort of like you can think of it as like the Flow blockchain, and we're going to configure it to actually point to Testnet, so to where we want it to be. So in order to do that, one of my biggest pet peeves when I'm watching a YouTube tutorial is when the YouTuber just copy and paste code. But I have to do that because it's a little confusing here. And I'm going to put this in the description. I'm going to put this whole repository on GitHub so you can copy and paste from there. But really what this is saying is, this is looking at FCL. It's saying let's configure FCL. And it's going to do this thing called .put, and it's going to point our FCL to Testnet. So this is pointing to Testnet. And this second line is going to point to Testnet wallets. So tells our dApp, let's just say to use Testnet wallets. So to use Testnet wallets. So that's what this is doing. So this is saying, hey, let's look at Testnet, and this is saying let's use Testnet wallets, and we'll see that in a second. It's going to be Blocto. All right. So the next step is, now that we're actually pointing to the Testnet here, let's actually make a button to read the greeting from the blockchain. So let's make a button. We're going to add an onClick handler here. So onClick, this is going to be an arrow function here, and we're going to make a function called get the greeting. So let's actually do that inside of here. So const get the greeting equals, we're going to make a new arrow function, and we're going to add some stuff in here to actually interact with the blockchain. So in order to do that, what we can do is we can say const result, so this is going to be the greeting that we're getting, equals await fcl.send, right? We're going to open up some parentheses here and some brackets. And in here, we are going to say fcl.script. And in these parentheses is where we're going to get this. So this code right here. So we actually have to import this into our file as well. So import get greeting from, and this is going to be .cadence/scripts/getGreeting.js. All right. And so we're actually going to pass in this greeting right here. So get greeting. All right. And that's all we're going to put here. And then we're going to say .then, and in .then we're going to say .fcl, so then fcl.decode, and then we're going to simply console.log our result. So it's pretty simple. All we're doing is we're saying, hey, let's await this fcl.send. So it's gonna run this script right here. It's going to decode the result into something that we can actually read, which is going to be our greeting, and that's all going to be good. Now, if we also we have to add async here, or else it's going to yell at us, because await basically means have result wait for the result of that script, so that we're not logging null or anything like that. All right. So let's go to our console. Let's npm run start again. So we're going to start up our sort of client here. I hope it doesn't give us any errors. I don't think it should. So let's see. So it's just starting the development server, and it should say compile successfully if we are good to go, which would be a beauty. So okay, so it's just saying types is not used, but okay, so we're good. All right. Oh, so yeah, and so inside of this button, let's actually just put like let's get greeting. Okay. So that's, let's go back to our client here, and so we can inspect. Let's go to our console, and I'll also increase the font size of this console, and let's click on get greeting. And it's going to, oh, okay. So I'm really glad that we ran into this error. So it's going to say a bunch of weird stuff, right? Like, hey, hello world, it's from 0x01, what the heck? Remember that when we copy and pasted our script from Playground, we didn't replace this address here, right? This is just the address on the emulator in the Playground somewhere. We need to actually replace this with the address of the contract. And remember, we deployed the contract to this address right here. So let's make sure that we replace that inside of our script so that it actually knows where the contract is. So let's refresh our page. Let's click get greeting. And look, it says hello world. So woo! We just read from the testnet and we got the greeting from the testnet. Yes, that's awesome. All right, so now things will get a bit more complicated because we actually want to change the greeting on the blockchain. And in order to change the greeting, we need to do that from an account. We can't just, no one can just randomly change it. On Flow, inside of a transaction, if we go back to the Playground here, in the transaction, someone actually has to, sign this transaction. Remember, like someone actually has to sign it. And so we need to be able to sign into something in order to do that. And so let's go back into our application here. And what we're going to do is we're going to use Blocto to do that. So remember, we've already pointed our FCL to look at Blocto. So we're going to add a button here. So let's add a button. And this is going to be log in. So let's do on click here. Let's add a new function that we're going to call login. Nope, I don't want that yet. We will do that in a second, right? So let's just get rid of that. Okay, and let's add a new function called const login equals a new arrow function. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to say fcl.authenticate. So fcl.authenticate will actually log us in. It'll bring up a prompt to log us in. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to store the current user that we logged in as inside of a state variable. And so in React, I usually do this by just saying import React. We're going to do something called, we're going to use something called useState, and we're importing this from React. And so this just useState allows us to store the state of something inside of our React function here. So in order to do that, we're going to make a new variable called user. We're going to specify that we change it through something called setUser, and we're going to say equals useState, and we're just going to leave this blank for now. And so you actually have to put const here as well. All right. So what we can do now is we can say, so we're going to store our user in here. And so we can do that by saying fcl.currentUser, and then we're going to say .subscribe, and inside here we're going to put setUser. So this is a bunch of complicated stuff. All it's saying is we're going to basically make the current user equal to, we're going to do .subscribe to whoever we signed in as here. So this brings up the prompt. It's going to log in, and then once we log in, it's going to go to this step, and it's going to say, okay, basically make this user here whoever we just logged in as. All right. And so once we do that, we're going to add another H1 here that basically says, so the account address, and we're going to open up these little brackets here so we can put some JavaScript code. And we're going to say if user is not nil and user.address, so that's how we're going to get the address, is not nil, then we're going to do user.address, and if it is nil, then we're just going to put some empty strings here, right? So let's go back to our application here, and we're going to let's quit this for a second. We're going to log in. So let's click login, and it's going to hopefully, if everything is working correctly, although it seems like it's not. So let's go to console. Oh, because I mistyped something is on something weird. So let's make sure that we change that back. So where did oh, right here. Okay, so this should be on click. All right. Okay, sometimes I get worried that I'm completely wrong, but hopefully we're not. So we're going to click login. Oh, and look, it brings up the Blocto prompt. So let's click on Blocto. I remember we already logged in previously on the Flow view source, so it's actually already logged in for us. And we're going to log in as this account. And if you're for some reason logged out, you can just log back in. So click confirm. And look, it now displays our address here. Woo! Okay, yeah. So it displays our address. All right, so now we're actually logged in as someone, so we can run a transaction from our account to change the state of the blockchain. Okay, so let's go back into our application. Actually, no, let's go to the Flow Playground, and let's make a transaction to actually change the greeting, right? So in here, we're going to change the greeting. So hello world dot change greeting. The new greeting is going to be some variable that we pass in. So let's add a parameter to our transaction called new greeting. This is going to be a string, and so we can actually test this. And so let's actually add a log here saying, hey, we changed the greeting. All right. So with our new greeting, you have to remember to put these in quotes. For some reason, the playground is weird. We're going to say, we're going to change it from hello world to goodbye, and that's it. So we're going to send this, and look, it's going to say, hey, we changed the greeting, right? And so hopefully now it's different. So if we go to our script, we'll see that actually if we execute this again, it'll say goodbye instead of hello world, right? Cool. So let's copy and paste this transaction. Let's go back into our Dapp here. Let's add a new folder inside Cadence called transactions. So transactions change the state of the blockchain. So let's do this, new file, and we're going to call this change greeting. And we have to make it a JavaScript file once again. So we're going to export const change greeting, open up some backticks, and we're going to copy and paste our transaction. Now remember, we have to change our address from the default playground one to be our address. So let's do that together. Boom, we've done it. So if you're not familiar with the Cadence code here, I'll just briefly describe this. So we're importing the contract from an address that it's deployed to. We're doing a new transaction. We're passing in a parameter here. So we're going to have to do that in our Dapp called new greeting. That's what we were doing in this box. Prepare, we're not going to worry about. That's a whole separate concept. If you're curious about this, make sure to watch the previous videos. We've gone over this super in depth. But really, we're going to execute. So this is what's being executed. We're going to call change greeting, which is inside of the contract here, right? Public function change greeting. We've already done this together, and we're going to pass in our new greeting. All right, sweet. So we have this in here, and let's actually make sure to import this as well. So let's import change greeting. Whoa, that was cool. I've never seen that before. I clicked tab and it automatically did it. That was some voodoo. I don't even know what that was. That was sick. All right. Anyway, sorry, that was cool. So we're going to add a new button here. New button. This is going to make it so that we change the greeting. So on click. Oh, I misspelled it again. Holy cow. Equals this. We're going to open up our parentheses here. And we're going to make a new function called change greeting. Cool. We are making progress. Actually, let's just call it change the greeting so that we're not, because we already have something called change greeting, okay? All right, so let's make a new function here called const change the greeting equals a new arrow function, blah, blah, blah. This is awesome. Okay, so now this gets a little bit more complicated. So in our script, all we did was do this sort of fcl.script thing. In our transaction, we have to specify the gas limit. We have to specify who's sending the transaction, the payer, all this stuff. So let's do that together. So we're going to do const transaction ID. So this is going to be the ID of the transaction that's run, and we can do something cool with this after. So const transaction ID, we're going to put this here, equals await fcl.send, open up our little parentheses and our little array thing, and we're going to put a bunch of stuff in here. So down here, or up here, we had said fcl.script. Well, in this case, you may have guessed it, we're going to say fcl.transaction. We're going to pass in our transaction, which is change greeting. All right. Then the next thing, I'm also cheating. I'm looking at my notes, so I admit I'm cheating. And now, remember, we have to pass in an argument here. So we actually have to pass in this argument somehow. So let's do that here. So you do that by doing fcl.args, open up a parentheses and a little array. So this is going to be an array of args. We only have one argument, which is fcl.arg. We're going to make this, I don't know, goodbye, right? And the type of this argument is types. So that's why we had to import types up here, right here. So types.string. All right. And then there's a bunch of other stuff. So let me just type this out, and then I'll explain all of this. So fcl.payer. Actually, I guess I'll do it as we go. So the payer on Flow, when you submit a transaction, behind the scenes, there's three people. There's the payer, the person paying for the transaction. There's the proposer, who is the person that actually proposed it or said, okay, we're submitting a transaction, and the authorizations. And so authorizations are a little more complicated, so let's go over that in a second. So the payer is just going to be fcl.currentUser, like this. All right. The proposer is going to be fcl.proposer, which is going to be the fcl.currentUser as well. This is the person that we're logged in as. So remember, on our client, I logged in as this account. So this is just the fcl.currentUser is just this account. And also I want to make it clear that you can't just like put in an address here. So you can't just like say, oh, like I want to submit this from like account like 1. You can't do that. It has to be an authorized account, aka an account that you're currently logged in through Blocto. So don't just try and like put an address here. And that makes sense, right? Because we wouldn't want to just be able to submit a transaction from anybody just from their address. And then down here, so then fcl.authorizations, authorizations, like that. And then this is going to be an array of authorizations, which is just FCL. It's only going to be one authorizer, which is our current user. And then the last one is the gas limit of the transaction, which we're just going to put as like 999 because it doesn't matter. All right. So then we're going to say .then fcl.decode like so, and we're going to then return. Let's actually just console.log the transaction ID. Okay, so this should work. All right. So the authorizations, these are the people that are actually, on Flow. These people right here. So they're in the prepare. This is the person that we can actually access the account storage of their accounts. That's beyond the scope of this tutorial. But again, if you're curious, watch the previous videos. But the authorizers are the people that go inside here. So in case you're curious from previous videos. Okay. Cool. So of course we made it awaits. This has to be an asynchronous function. Let's see if it is still mad at us. And nope, it's not mad at us. All right, cool. So let's add a little button in here, right? And this is going to be change the greeting. Okay. So I think this should work. If it doesn't work, don't be mad. Okay, cool. So let's click on change the greeting. Okay, it was mad. It was very mad. It was very mad. Okay. So why is it mad? Let's go back in here. fcl.current user. This should all be good. fcl.pair proposer authorizations. So there's a chance that I might have to change this to auths. Let me just do this really quickly and see, because fcl.current user might be outdated. So let's actually go back in here and change these. I don't know if this will make a difference, but it could. Oh. Okay, it made a difference. Okay, so you can't use current user. It looks like current user is outdated, so we actually have to use fcl.auths. But back in the old days, we used to be able to use fcl.current user, so that's my bad. Okay. Anyway, it loads up a prompt, so we're actually submitting a transaction now. And look, it loads up a Blocto prompt. We can click on the down arrow here, and we can actually look at the argument. So look, it says the argument is goodbye, which is what we passed in. And here's the script we put, which is yay, it's all cool. So that's all stuff here. So if we click approve, we'll click approve. Let's see if this works. I don't know if it'll work. I think it did. And look, this is our transaction hash here. So this is the transaction ID. So if we click on get greeting, it still says hello world, and remember that's because the testnet takes some time because it's not as fast as the emulator. So if we keep clicking this, oh, now it's goodbye. Okay, so now it actually changed. So one cool thing we can do is we can copy and paste this, and I haven't tested this yet, so this also could be off. But if we copy and paste this, if we go to something called Flowscan, so let's look up Flowscan. Click on this link, which is Flowscan, and then at the beginning of this link, I'll put this in the comments as well, but if we do testnet.flowscan, I believe this is the testnet version. What we can actually do is we can copy and paste this ID and click explore, I think. No. Oh, yes. I am so smart, it's unbelievable. So if we copy and paste our ID, we can actually look at all the stuff that was involved with this transaction. So look, it was saying the payer, the authorizer, the proposer. Is this our address? Let's see. Please. Please, please, please. Yep. Oh, no, it's not. Wait, what the heck? Wait, that's so weird. Wait, that is so weird. Why is it from a totally separate account? What? Okay. This is so weird. Okay, well, I mean, I don't know why it's a wrong... Oh no, oh, I'm so stupid. I'm so stupid. So the authorizer, okay. Yes. So it's so funny. I just said I'm so unbelievably smart, and then I did that. So the authorizer, okay, this is us. Okay, so this is the person that was actually like authorized to do the transaction. So if we go back into here, this is the address that's right here, right? Now, you'll notice these two are different. This is because this is actually Blocto doing it for us. So the proposer and the payer, Blocto is actually covering the transaction cost for us because it's on testnet, so they're doing it. So if you notice, we didn't actually lose any flow balance. It's because Blocto, thank you, Blocto, is actually covering the cost. So they're automatically being the payer. So that's just a separate thing. But you can see this actually is the transaction we just ran, right? It's on the 14th of November. Is it the 14th of November? Yes, it is. As according to my phone here, I can prove it. Look, it's the It's. Oh no. Oh no. Can you read that? No, you can't read it. That's so sad. Look, that's Snoopy. But it is the 14th of November, I promise. Okay. So this is all that stuff, and so we can even see the script. And look, here's the script. So this is the script we just ran. The value was goodbye. Super cool, right? And let me actually make this larger. So look, it's goodbye. This is all stuff that we've done. So really cool stuff, right? So we've changed the greeting, and that's all that. All right. So now let's go back down, and I wonder why is it not displaying our address? That's actually interesting. So if we go back to our client here, we should be able to. Okay, so we just had to click login again, and our address is here. So this is how to read stuff from the blockchain, how to submit transactions. I hope this was helpful. I hope I'm not missing anything. Yeah, so I think this is all I really wanted to cover. Just how to get a simple thing going. You'll see we have the address here. We got the greeting. We changed the greeting. A bunch of cool stuff, right? And so I guess one more thing I could show you is if we wanted to log out. Let's just add a button, call it log out. So log out. And we don't have to do all this stuff here. We can just say fcl.onauthenticate, right? And if we do fcl.onauthenticate here, then if we go back into our client, we click log out. You'll see there's no address. But if we log in, we can click on Blocto again. We can log in, and boom, we're logged back in. So we can submit some stuff again, and we can get the greeting, goodbye. So that's everything I wanted to show. I hope that was helpful. If it was, please leave some feedback, and I guess I'll see you in the next one. And it's currently midnight here. I'm gonna go play some video games Saturday night. All right, have a great day or night or whatever time it is for you. Bye.